A look at the news. So VMware multiplied their prices by about a factor of 10 after Broadcom bought them. So many people are trying to move and trying to figure out what to move to. So here's a guy moving 3,500 machines into Hyper-V, which is Microsoft's competing product. So that's one direction to go, although I don't think it's very popular. And Proxmox is another alternative. I found Proxmox to be very good. I'm running a private cloud on 2 Proxmox servers now, and it's very easy to set up. It's based on Debian Linux, so it's very familiar to me, and it seems to be working pretty well, although I've only got simple things going on. Anyway, there are various alternatives out there, and they're saying that basically Broadcom only wants the Fortune 200 companies, the ones that can just pay them vast amounts of money, and everybody else, they don't want you anymore for a customer, which seems to be true for VMware. However, the desktop versions are still free, which is what I'm using for running virtual machines for demonstration in class. And that's nice, although if they start charging for that or destroy it, then there's always VirtualBox as a reasonable alternative. So this Politico article hit the political world like a bomb. Apparently there are still some people out there who do not understand that the modern Republican Party is a Nazi party. But Steve Miller is a clear, open Nazi, and so is Elon Musk, and they're at the head of the party, and everybody is going along with them, and they're white supremacists, racist, and very much into violence. They're now murdering people in Venezuela and such. So their leaked message, young Republicans, young being up to the age of 40, have had their chat list leak with like 10 or 20,000 messages saying, using the N-word for black people, using slurs for gay people, saying they want to throw all their political opponents in the gas chambers and all their family, and saying they love Hitler and they're Nazi sympathizers and they want to bring Nazism to America. And I think that is certainly what the modern Republican Party wants, what the leaders want. I don't suppose that all the Republican voters understand this. Some of them probably thought they were voting for lower grocery prices and for deporting dangerous criminals, but they're all willing to go along with Nazism to get those things. And anyway, this is considered a scandal, although J.D. Vance says it doesn't mean anything, it's fine, it's perfectly fine that people talk this way, it doesn't mean anything, because the rule of the modern Republican Party is to succeed, you have to always go to the extreme far right, make sure nobody can possibly be to your right. So be as racist as possible, as violent as possible, as cruel as possible, because that's how you'll win primaries, and that's all that matters. So I was very pleased to see this article. I've been saying this for the last couple of years on Pulse Security Weekly. Network security devices are ridiculously vulnerable, and they're getting hacked like crazy. Firewalls, VPN concentrators, routers, these things are exposed to the internet, and they're just ridiculously vulnerable, and they keep getting hacked with security problems that should have been solved 30 years ago, like directory traversal and buffer overflow, ridiculous things, SQL injections. And the point is, the manufacturers are just not bothering to secure these devices, and they're running them with old code in them, written decades ago when people did not understand security as well. So, and they show their current efforts to improve their product are going nowhere. They list the zero-day vulnerabilities found in 2024, and there's just as many found in 2025 of the same type. So we really need to name and shame these guys. And really, somebody needs to make a more secure firewall and then sell it and market it as more secure. What I've been saying on Pulse Security Weekly all along is, why isn't my firewall as secure as my iPhone? iPhones are very secure. Every single app running on your iPhone has to be signed by Apple. You can't run any malware unless you can trick Apple into signing it, which very rarely happens. And the routers could be that secure, but they just aren't because they're using decades-old security policies. So we'll see. But right now, it's getting ridiculous, and I was just talking about this on another podcast. The point is, there's technical debt. Every company has this problem. You have old stuff that your employees did decades or more ago, and going back and fixing old stuff is really painful. You might have lost the source code. You probably no longer have the developers that wrote it. it's very difficult and burdensome to fix old stuff. Now, new stuff you can write better, but actually going back and fixing the old stuff is painful, so everybody always tries to avoid it as long as possible. And I think they've hit the end of that road. They've tried to pretend that everything is fine as long as they can, and now these devices are really getting hacked right and left. So when there's enough humiliation, then they're compelled to take the difficult job of rewriting their old legacy code. Nobody likes to do that because you waste a lot of money and time doing it, and the end result is you have the same product as before. So it seems like you're wasting your money for no return on investment, but there's a time when you're forced to do it. And so here, for example, F5. F5 sells load balancers and other similar devices, and hackers installed rootkits or something and had permanent intrusion in here since 2023. They were in there for more than a year, and they were state-backed attackers. I don't know if it was China or Russia, one of those two, and they exploited software that had been left vulnerable and exposed to the internet, so they just failed to patch their stuff. By the way, the same thing happened to another really big company a few months ago. They ran an unpatched server, and they were a security company. So anyway, they've been downloading all this stuff. Now, I heard the people on Pivot podcast said that this one is as big as SolarWinds. SolarWinds was the most important hack in many years. They say this, in fact, is going to affect a lot of companies because everybody uses F5. And I guess the question is, if everybody using F5 has also been hacked by these foreign attackers, then it would be like SolarWinds, although I didn't see that here. We're going to wait and see the fallout here. There were two big ones in the last few years were SolarWinds and Log4j. Both of those were vulnerabilities that affected many systems, including critical government and military systems, and everybody had to scramble to patch it. I imagine right now everybody has to scramble to identify what F5 devices they're using and are they vulnerable. And the next question is, have they been hacked? And we'll see. So I'm interested to learn more about that. So the modern Republican Party has decided to reject science, although this has always been a strong tradition in America. And so they've been blocking people from getting vaccines or convincing them vaccines are dangerous. So they have brought back measles, which had been extinct, and they brought back whooping cough. Whooping cough is now up 85% from just last year. And the one I haven't seen yet that I expect very soon is for polio to come back, because children are no longer being vaccinated against any of these things in sufficient numbers. And now the people who managed to remove a mandatory vaccination in Idaho want to nationally outlaw mandatory vaccines. So it's absolutely an anti-science, anti-rational movement just to kill people for no reason, but it has to do with just a general hatred of the government and mistrust of establishment and belief in conspiracy theory and magic and stuff. And that's a big part of it. One thing that isn't always appreciated is how much the modern Republican Party is religious. I saw a bunch of clips. I think it was Jon Stewart had some good clips showing that they don't longer regard Trump as just the best president ever. They regard him as God's chosen messenger to save us all, and that opposing him is opposing God. And that's what, and Peter Thiel, who's sort of the leader of a whole lot of the Silicon Valley tech bros, is now having meetings where he explains that anybody that wants to place any regulations on AI or any kind of technology is the Antichrist. So they're mixing this apocalyptic Christian religion, which, by the way, is not particularly in the Bible. It's an invention of a guy that wrote comic books called Jack Chick in the 1950s. He invented this post-Holocaust stuff based on stuff he found in the book of Revelations. But it's become standard in America. Other nations, Christianity, do not have this apocalyptic concept. It's an American creation. But anyway, the religion is a big issue. Big reason why people will do extremely unwise, dangerous things and feel like they're right, because they have supernatural justification for it. And so Amazon plans to replace more than 500,000 jobs in the future with robots. Then rather than hiring people in the future, they plan to use robots. In China, they've already automated a lot of things. And another company just bought 10,000 of Elon Musk's robots, which have not received very good reviews. But we will see. They're going to, a pharmaceutical company is going to buy 10,000 Tesla robots. And this is for agriculture and development of prescription drugs. So we'll see if it works. Apparently in China, the automation has gone very far. There are a lot of robots in use, and America's trying to catch up. So we'll see what happens. I was listening to Bernie Sanders, and of course, a socialist response to this, if you have a lot of robots and aren't that many jobs, would be to lower the work week from 40 to 32 hours. I think that would make sense. But, we'll see. The fascist Republican solution is to just abandon people and let them die. Or just like kick them off health care. If you are not contributing enough, you deserve to die, and it's your own fault if you can't find a job. That's their position. Now, my impression is they're burning out their support for that position. Even Republican voters are not happy to watch their medical payments double, and they get fired from their jobs and such. But we'll see. The next election is super important. Anyway, that's enough of the news. Let me stop that.